I now recognize Representative Young Kim of California, who's the vice-ranking member of the Subcommittee on Asia, the Pacific, Central Asia, and Nonproliferation for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Mix. Ranking Member McCall, who is not here at the moment, but Congressman Smith, good to see you, and thank you for holding this hearing. And I want to thank our witnesses for joining us today. The importance of accurate reporting and transparency in conflict zones cannot be overstated in helping protect vulnerable groups from further violence and enabling actors involved in resolving the conflict to make informed decisions. So as we have seen over the past few months, journalists have been harassed, barred from entering Tigray, and even detained for reporting on the conflict. So, question to you, Secretary Godek. What is the State Department doing to push for access and protection for journalists and even civilians providing necessary documentation of these atrocities?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. So freedom of the media is obviously very important to the United States. It is a fundamental right, and we believe everyone should have freedom of expression, and there should be freedom of the media. We appreciated the steps, frankly, towards a freer media, more freedom of expression that Prime Minister Abiy took when he first came into office. Unfortunately, the situation has changed dramatically. There is harassment, imprisonment of journalists, and others who appear to simply be expressing their views. We've seen certainly domestic journalists under considerable pressure, but also international journalists. So, for example, New York Times reporter Simon Marks was essentially expelled. The administration has frequently raised this with Prime Minister Abiy, with other senior Ethiopian officials. We have pushed for protection for these journalists. We've pushed for more freedom of the media, and we will continue to do so. It is critically important, as you indicate, that the people of the country have access to accurate, complete reporting, and that's not going to happen in an environment that is controlled and where journalists' voices are suppressed and other voices are suppressed.
Thank you. I would like to talk about the famine and humanitarian issues, so I'd like to address the next question to Ms. Charles. As you know, Administrator Power recently said that over 900,000 people are currently experiencing famine in Ethiopia. We also know that the humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia is not limited to starvation, but also a lack of adequate civilian infrastructure and access to medical care. So what are those biggest impediments to scaling up to the humanitarian response in Ethiopia? I'm going to give you loaded questions all at once so you can answer all at once. So what is the U.S. and our partners doing to overcome these impediments and push the government of Ethiopia to allow for fully unfettered humanitarian access throughout the Tigray region? And further, how much of Tigray is still inaccessible by humanitarian aid, and what regions or specific routes? And can you report on existing blockages to humanitarian aid in recent weeks?
Thank you for those questions. The biggest impediment, no doubt, is the presence of armed actors and the harassment of aid workers, the blockage of assistance. We welcome the unilateral ceasefire announced by the government of Ethiopia yesterday. We're hopeful that this could potentially provide the first necessary step to allow for access, but we immediately need to see the lifting of a communications blackout around Tigray. We also need to see the Amharic regional forces to remove checkpoints from the 3 main arteries that we need to access in order to access those that are out of reach. Currently, there are more than 1 million people in Tigray that are out of reach of assistance. And so we need all parties to allow for unobstructed access.
Thank you very much. Secretary Godek, I want to turn the attention to GERD, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. So I want to ask you, what is the current impact on the ongoing fighting in Tigray to negotiations with Egypt and Sudan as they work on water projects to make up for the water lost from the Nile as Ethiopia feels its GERD? And what is the current status of these negotiations?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Efforts are ongoing by the administration and by others to assist the parties to reach an agreement on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. It is a technical solution that is needed. We believe that there are technical ways to address the interests of Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. The challenge has been the absence of political will at the leadership level. We have been engaged directly with the African Union, which is leading the effort. We've been engaged with the UAE, which has been providing some very useful support and assistance for the negotiations, and we're going to continue to press for a resolution of the dispute over the dam. And as I indicated, we believe it is possible to reach a technical solution that satisfies the needs of all the parties.
Gentlelady's time is